Shalom, family. Good to see everyone here. Hope we're doing well. So, anyway, we're going to talk about something that came up this week when birthright citizenship went to the Supreme Court. Donald Trump is fighting it because, all these immigrants were brought in here on the 14th Amendment. And he said the only one that applies to are the descendants of slaves. It does not apply to all of these people. And the one thing that he's fighting right now is Native Americans, saying they are not citizens at all. And this is being fought in the Supreme Court. Donald Trump feels that they are not in the Constitution, and he knows they came here from somewhere else. So, that being said, then they are not citizens. So, he feels that they should not have any citizenship and should be deportable. And there's a lot of people that agree with Donald Trump. You should be able to deport them. So, you're going to see reaction to this. And, the fact that it's being questioned says a lot. It tells me that these native tribes are not as secure as they probably once thought they were. They're not anymore. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
If you were an American Indian, the Supreme Court held more than 100 years ago that American Indians were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
Oh, wow.
And did not get birthright citizenship. So Congress had to provide birthright citizenship through statute. So ask this dispositive question. If American Indians did not get birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment, how the hell would illegal aliens? And the
I got this fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me, a third of me demented, submitting in pain, juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends, I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this isolation, I was 4 years old. Truth be told, I've been battling myself, trying to navigate the real and fake, cynical.
So y'all ain't even citizens of the United States. Y'all volunteered to help them fight because y'all was in the woods with them. Makes perfect sense. Fake Siberian.
Native Americans are not from America.
Your favorite Uncle Tony. This is for the natives that I keep messing with because they keep messing with my people. Why don't y'all do Uncle Tony one favor? Get your family records and go back as far as you can here in America. I promise you one thing. It's going to show you that y'all rusty asses are not from here. I promise you, if any of you Native Americans right now, you so-called want to be Indians, because that's what y'all want to be, because we are the Indians. Yes, my people are. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Native, you can't be Indian because you're not copper colored. You might have a little melanin in your skin now because you got infiltrated, but guess what? You ain't from here. And you can get your rest of tail in the car.
They don't know if Native Americans are U.S. citizens. Yeah, you heard that right. It's kind of still up for debate. It's in the gray area. At least that is what these Republican lawyers are fighting in court.
Do you think Native Americans today are birthright citizens under your test and under your friend's test?
I think so. I mean, obviously they've been granted citizenship by statute.
Put aside the statute, do you think they're birthright citizens?
No, I think the clear understanding that everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
I understand that's what they said, but your test is the domicile of the parents, and that would be the test you'd have us apply today, right?
Yes. So if a tribal Indian, for example, gives up allegiance to...
Born today, birthright citizens.
I think so on our test. Yeah, if they're lawfully domiciled here.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I have to think that through. But
Native American. think that through if they are U.S. citizens or not. Birthright citizenship. Native Americans. This is a white supremacist thing. This is Project 2025. And this is what they call manifest destiny. Share this so more people understand what they're really trying to do with this birthright citizenship. And make sure you're following, and I'll keep you posted with more information today.
In a 1984 Supreme Court case styled Elk v. Wilkins, the High Court ruled in a 7-2 decision that Native Americans are not automatically U.S. citizens under the 14th Amendment. This case involved a Winnebago Indian named John Elk, who had left his reservation and moved to Omaha, Nebraska, to live under the laws of the United States. He tried to register to vote, but was denied by Charles Wilkins, who said that Elk was not a U.S. citizen. The legal question posed before the High Court is whether the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to Indians who left their tribe and lived among U.S. citizens. In a 7-2 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that an Indian simply leaving their reservation did not make them U.S. citizens and make them subject to the jurisdiction thereof because they were still considered members of sovereign Indian nations. In other words, simply leaving their reservations wasn't enough to make them subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The impact is that it resulted in the denial of U.S. citizenship for those Native Americans who wanted to be U.S. citizens. This remained the law until Congress passed the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924. So why is this important now? Well, in January 2025, in Trump's first day in office after winning the 2024 election, he signed an executive order that limits birthright citizenship that would require that at least one parent be here legally to any child born in the U.S. in order for that child to have U.S. citizenship. That executive order has been in litigation ever since, with all lower courts ruling that the executive order is unconstitutional. Okay, but what does Elk v. Wilkins and Native Americans have to do with Trump's birthright citizenship executive order? In the pleadings that Trump's attorneys filed, they're using the Elk v. Wilkins ruling as the basis to support Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship because they claim that a child born to illegal immigrants are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. However, the Supreme Court may avoid ruling on the constitutionality of Trump's birthright citizenship executive order, but may instead focus on the Nationality Act of 1940, which codified U.S. citizenship laws, formally declaring that anyone born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a citizen at birth. It strengthened jus soli, which is Latin for right of the soil, birthright citizenship, specifically including Native Americans, and solidified that birthright citizenship applies regardless of parental immigration status. If the Supreme Court chooses this route and upholds this 1940 law that look to Trump to start pressuring Congress to repeal this 1940 law. Sadly, we all know that Trump is deranged enough to go through all this trouble just to try and get his way. If you like what you hear and see, please share and repost. Give me a like and follow. Aho.
Wow. So Native Americans are not birthright citizens as of yesterday. I just have one thing to say to that. How?
Well, now I done seen everything. Apparently.
Now, you see the way this guy looks, right? You see the way this guy looks. When I was a kid, they had showed us a picture in school of Native Americans. And I kid you not, they all looked just like this guy, the men and the women. And I looked at it and I said, so the natives are Asian? Oh no, they're not Asian. This is what a teacher told me. Oh no, they're not Asian. That's just the way they look. How do you look Asian, but you're not Asian? But everybody in the group looked just like him. And I'm looking at it, and as a child, I was confused. You're telling me on one hand, these are natives, but the whole group of them look like a bunch of Asians. So that always stuck with me. Now I know why. Because they're a bunch of Siberians. They really technically are Asians. So let's get back to it.
Apparently, Native Americans might not be American citizens. And this is according to the latest news from multiple news outlets. You can Google it yourself. But essentially, there's the group of people that are trying to do whatever they're trying to do. And the first point of attack is to illegitimize Native Americans from being Americans. So yeah, there's that. And happy Friday or something. I got my DNA test back today, and it says I'm most notably connected, or my DNA is most notably connected to Chief Pontiac of the Ottawa Indians, or Native Americans. That blew my mind. And I was born in Korea, lived on the streets of South Korea, but there's not much Korean in me. How is that even possible? So I'm a Korean from Korea that's not Korean, that's most notably connected to Chief Pontiac. How is that even possible? Someone explain this.
Tribal members are also citizens of the United States since 1924. You know, there's nobody more American. My name is Chase Iron Eyes. I'm an Oglala Sioux tribal member.
For the Supreme Court now, they just accepted this case. So it's very important.
With them accepting it, it brings me back to what I just mentioned about Senator Howard out of Michigan. The original text of the 14th Amendment did not include "and subject to the jurisdiction thereof." So it's got to mean something. Can you explain to my audience and me, what does it mean?
Yeah, very fast. After the Civil War, we enacted the 13th Amendment to outlaw slavery, the 14th Amendment to provide due process and equal protection to the freed slaves, and then the 15th Amendment to provide voting rights to the freed male slaves, which was extended to women in the 19th Amendment. But part of the 14th Amendment has a birthright citizenship clause. And the point of that was to give citizenship automatically through the 14th Amendment to the children of the freed slaves. So they could not be denied citizenship by subsequent Congresses. And as part of that debate, as you said, Joe, there is a provision in there that says that all persons subject to the jurisdiction of the United States gets birthright citizenship. And that has a very specific legal meaning. Subject to the jurisdiction means that you are loyal to the United States. So, for example, if you are an ambassador's child born in America, foreign ambassador's child born in America, you do not get birthright citizenship. If you are an invading army and you have a child in America, that child does not have birthright citizenship. If you were an American Indian, the Supreme Court held more than 100 years ago that American Indians were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
Oh, wow.
And did not get birthright citizenship. So Congress had to provide birthright citizenship through statute. So ask this dispositive question. If American Indians did not get birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment, how the hell would illegal aliens? And the answer is they don't.
Breaking news. The Trump administration questions Native Americans' birthright citizenship in court. The Trump administration argued in court to limit birthright citizenship for certain groups of people here in the United States. Part of their argument involved questioning whether Native Americans, who are citizens of their own tribal nations, qualified for U.S. citizenship under the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868, states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are United States citizens. This basically means that anyone born on U.S. soil automatically is a United States citizen. However, The Trump administration is focused on one phrase of the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And they argue that not everyone born in the United States qualifies as subjects to the jurisdiction of the United States. The Justice Department cited the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which was ratified 2 years prior to the 14th Amendment, and is one of the earliest laws that define citizenship. What's interesting about this is that it excludes two groups of people from citizenship. The first is subject to a foreign power and Indians not taxed. Historically, the United States government treated all Native Americans as belonging to separate nations and not to the United States. And that all changed in 1924 with the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act, which granted all Native Americans in the United States citizenship. The Trump administration is arguing that the 14th Amendment should still exclude Native Americans because we are still subjects to a foreign power, which is our tribal nations, and they are citing a Supreme Court case that was decided in 1884 that stated that Native Americans are not U.S. citizens unless they denounce their allegiance to their tribes. This is very controversial because the United States government and tribal nations have a long-standing agreement stating that Native Americans can have dual citizenship with the United States government and with our tribes. And the arguments that the Trump administration is trying to make will undermine all of this and throw away hundreds of years of treaties and negotiations that allow us to have our tribal sovereignty today. In addition to that, the 1884 Supreme Court case that decided that Native Americans are not U.S. citizens unless they renounce their tribal allegiance was basically deemed useless after the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924.
You think Native Americans today are birthright citizens under your test and under your friend's test?
I think so. I mean, obviously they've been granted citizenship by statute.
Put aside the statute. You think they're birthright citizens?
No, I think the clear understanding that everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
I understand that's what they said, but your test is the domicile of the parents, and that would be the test you'd have us apply today, right?
Yes, yes. So if a tribal Indian, for example, gives up allegiance to
born today, birthright citizens.
I think so on our test. Yeah, if they're lawfully domiciled here.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I have to think that through, but that's my reaction.
This comment reflects two important points about the intended meaning of the clause by its authors, I think. First, they intended that the children of tribal Indians who resided on reservations and owed their direct allegiance to their tribes would not be entitled to birthright citizenship, but the children of assimilated Indians who had left their reservations and had established permanent residence among the body politic of the states would be entitled to birthright citizenship. Second, it is not at all plausible that the framers of the Citizenship Clause intended that tribal Indians to be able to evade this limitation on birthright citizenship for their children by the simple expedient of leaving the reservation long enough to give birth to a child. The key distinction between tribal Indians and assimilated Indians was allegiance. Tribal Indians owed their direct allegiance to the tribe, while an Indian who established a permanent domicile within the state and assimilated into the body politic committed his primary allegiance to the United States and thus entitled his children to citizenship at birth.
You look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved. I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. When you go up to Connecticut and you look, now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
And he's right. That's because they're not Indians. You know, this is a label that was given to them because they didn't want us to really know who we were. Now, all of this is coming to a head to the point where on TikTok, it was a lot of back and forth between our people and the Siberians. And they got so mad, they were saying they were going to take Black Americans to court. And everybody was like, that's wonderful. Then you're going to have to prove your lineage in court. You're going to have to show it. You can't just sit around and say it like y'all are now. So, of course, that never amounted to anything. They didn't take anybody to court, but they were making the threats. So, the bottom line is no, anybody that's light skinned, and we know they are a mixture of a lot of different things, those are not original people. Just their complexion alone tells me that's not an original person on this earth. All right. We know at one point in time, this whole planet was melanated. It did not look like these native Indians, but all of them claim to be original people, and none of them are. Even the Mexicans make that claim. These lighter shade Mexicans claim they're original people. No, you're not. If you're that shade, no, you're not. You're not no original person. So this is now being fought in court. Y'all, things are changing rapidly. I never thought something like this would come up and there would be questions on whether these natives that have collected all kinds of reparations, got casinos and land and reservations and everything, they got all this stuff, and just to find out they are not from this land. Oh yeah, you can best believe if it don't go in their favor, this is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. But in these final times, yes, the truth will be coming out. Not only will the truth come out, everything's going to be revealed. Everything they've been lying about who people are on this planet, all of it's going to come out, y'all. They're not going to be able to hide anything like they have for centuries. And just how they gave citizenship in this country alone raised a red flag. So our people got it first, and they wrote us into the Constitution. But all other groups that got it, like the Native Indians and the Puerto Ricans, they passed laws to make them citizens. They pass laws, so laws can be rescinded. And everybody they gave citizenship by law, all of that can be rescinded. All of it. They're not in the Constitution. So that says a lot right there. And it tells me they really do know who is who. There's no way they would have gave that to us and we came from Africa. And they know we didn't come from Africa. That's why they put us in that Constitution. And if you notice, they didn't even use the word Africans when they put our people in the Constitution. They didn't even use the word Africans. I'm just saying, they did not use the word Africans. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I know I had to start this one a little earlier than normal, and something kind of came up. So, I do have one more live that's coming up. So, and I'm going to keep that at the time that it is set. So, y'all, thank you so much for being here. I deeply appreciate it. We're going to talk about the gas shortage that's going on in the UK and in Scotland. Well, they're saying that we are probably just weeks away from that happening here in the US. Weeks away. I mean, just think about it. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's why you can look at some Mexicans and they actually look Asian. That's why I'm saying if you look like you got mixtures of other things in you, then you're not an original person, and it's very obvious these natives have that. They're not original, they're not melanated like that, where they are an original person. You can tell there's other mixtures in there when you look at them. They don't look like no original person. Although they keep saying they are, they don't look like one. And I think that, and people know they came here from somewhere else. A lot of people are aware of that. But this country was hell bent on giving them this title of Native American. So at the end of the day, America, you already look bad. But I think when this happens, you're going to look even worse, because it's going to really define how deep you went with your lies in this country. Zachariah Williams, thank you so much for the super sticker and your support from my channel. So y'all, I will see you at 5:45. Shalom, family.